can you see all those buildings at the back, and then this person working here by the river and living here actually. And in China you have such a huge contrast in terms of how poor and how rich can people live, And this dude living here by the river, and probably his family lived here before and many years ago, and they actually built this city. So some people have not adapted to the new reality, because if we turn the camera back, we can see the city pretty much living its own life. People going back home from work, buses moving, and this dude working there by the river as his parents and grandparents were working ages ago. So what I'm talking about. But does it mean that this dude is less happy than those people working their jobs and trying to get to those buildings out there at the back there? Does it mean that he's not that happy? In my life, in traveling, I understood that owning less is usually more. What it means for me is when I tend to have more, I tend to feel less freedom. And it's probably obvious, because the more things you own, the more those things own you. And it's all those sayings, they are pretty popular, but many people don't really think about them. So what I mean by that, I tend to change cities pretty frequently, moving from one place to another, working somewhere where I like, and then when I finish the work, I just go to another city, and I don't stay for a long time, because I understand that China is huge. And not only China, the whole world is so huge that you would probably never have enough time to visit all the beautiful and gorgeous places. So why stay in somewhere that you don't like, that you don't want to stay in? I do understand that it sounds pretty hypocritical, because many people cannot avoid staying in that city. It can be true. It can be true also, and pretty much I believe 80% of those people have never just tried to go somewhere. And I noticed that actually moving from one place to another forces you to be more creative, in what you can do. It forces you to enable more skills and learn them. It forces you to think more creatively, really, than how you would think, probably staying in your hometown, and doing something that your parents were doing. So definitely, I believe that owning less for this dude doesn't mean that he's poor. Well, it probably means that he is poor in terms of today's reality, but only in terms of money, but not in terms of happiness. Who determines happiness? It doesn't mean that he's really not happy. Would I switch my place to that place out there by the river? Who knows? I have never been to his place, but I could definitely tell that it's much better than being, physically disabled or being dead, So every day is a gift for us. I cannot really imagine the bigger gift than the life itself, I cannot really tell that something physical can really make you more happy than the realization of the world and how big it is and how wonderful and what we can do in our body. And actually the whole perspective on how you can develop yourself, when you just simply realize it, it's such a powerful knowledge, that nothing in the world worth your life, right? And this is one of the principles of veganism, actually, that you don't want to take someone's life in order to live happily. You don't need to put your life on working for debt, for 40 years. And it's not even veganism, in this case, but it's just a huge philosophy for me, what you wouldn't do, what I wouldn't do for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be working for 30 years for the debt for an apartment, because what is the apartment actually? I changed maybe 10 cities in the last 2 years, maybe in the world, across the world. Imagine people chasing those purchases and apartments and cars in every little town, And if I count every single towns I visit here in China by bike, maybe it's up to hundreds, you know. So it's just insane, you know, how people try to boost their egos, you know, and buy all those things that are probably not necessary, you know. And I always, for me, there is the rule. Imagine my situation. When I move from one city to another, maybe every few months, what would you want to have in your life? Would you buy fridge or washing machine, or would you buy any big stuff like a bed, or probably something, I mean, like in the rented apartment, something new, you know, like a sofa, or probably new paintings, you know, putting them on the wall in the rented apartment for a half a year? Probably you wouldn't, unless you really need it, you know, like washing machine probably. Then yeah, it's probably not the best example, but you know, you know what I'm talking about. Like, would you buy the car in the city which you will probably leave in a half a year, or a country that you will probably leave, you know? Permanent resident of the country, it's the permanent resident of the world, you know. You don't tend to buy something that will make you stuck in the place, you know. You don't want to have something that won't allow you to move forward, you know, that won't allow you to move further, to chase your limits, to explore the world, you know. Probably if you do have some places where you really like, you know, and you really know that you want to live there in the long run, you know, maybe a few times of the year, for sure, buy an apartment there. It's nothing wrong with that. But just in general, you know, if you just live in if you have never visited other places in the world, why would you buy an apartment while you're 18 years old in debt, you know, or maybe while you're 22, and then paying 30 years for it, like our parents did? It's now really no really point for me, you know. I don't understand it. And renting, I believe, is much better alternative, you know. You just and especially in China, you know. So this video is about my biggest rule in my life, is not to buy something that would make you think, oh, I cannot move forward because I have this gorgeous car that I wanted to brag in front of my friends, you know, about. And it's just stupidity in my opinion. It's just stupidity. Let me know in the comments, please, guys, what you think about it. What are your thoughts on this topic? And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.